I just finished my second semester studying interior design, and I feel like I have a more realistic idea now of what this degree is actually like. When people hear interior design, they mostly think about mood boards, colors, and making rooms look nice, and yes, that is part of it. But my semester also included Blender, floor plans, YouTube strategy, scientific paper, APA references, digital interfaces, and a lot of files called final. So this video is gonna be more about everything behind it, what annoyed me, what I enjoyed, and what I really didn't expect from my second semester. When I started, I thought it would be more about ideas, mood boards, and making spaces look good. And then Voluta happened. It started with a really open brief, and my first idea was basically a rectangle on water. It was okay, but it was also just a rectangle. So at some point, that became the spiral you saw in my other videos. But choosing the spiral didn't really solve the project. It actually gave me even more problems because I had to think about where people are gonna walk, how big the rooms are, how the light is gonna work, and how the inside is connected to the outside. So after that, I still had to model and render everything. So there were like so many moments where it looked great in my head and honestly kind of terrible on the screen, just because I didn't know how to do it yet. Like I didn't know how to use the software right and how to model everything right, and that was just frustrating. But when I look at the final project now, I can also see how much I've learned until now. And technical meant something different in every class. With Voluta it was more floor plans, Blender and rendering, but with other assignments it was also APA citations, prototypes, interviews, wireframes, or like documenting every single step. So I was learning something new, but I still had the feeling I had no idea of what I was actually doing, which is probably a very common student feeling, but still. I also started university thinking that professors would teach us every program like step by step, like here is Blender, click here, do this, and now you know how to model. But that was not really how it worked. Of course they explained things and they gave us feedback, but a lot of the actual learning happened alone at my desk. I watched so many tutorials, googled error messages, I tried things, I broke things, and then I tried again. And sometimes I spent hours fixing something that probably should have taken like 10 minutes. So at first that really annoyed me because I thought, isn't this what I'm here to be taught? But I also became much more independent, and now when I don't understand something, I know I can probably figure it out somehow, even when it takes a while. Before the semester, I thought physical materials would be one of the biggest costs, but honestly for me that wasn't the biggest issue. My work was mostly digital. I didn't work or build physical models, and I didn't use material samples. So for me, the biggest hidden cost was the time. So much time went into modeling, rendering, researching, correcting things, exporting them, and then exporting them again. The finished render looks very calm and clean, but the folder behind it absolutely does not. I had files called Final, Final 2, Final 3, and so on, and Blender scenes that suddenly stopped working for no obvious reason. The good part is that I'm much faster and more organized now, and the bad part is that I know now how much work can actually hide behind just one nice image. Then there were the assignments that didn't really look like interior design at all. I knew the degree wouldn't be completely about designing rooms, but I didn't expect to spend so much time in searching for academic databases, analyzing YouTube as a business, or designing digital interfaces. And the best example for that was definitely my scientific paper. My topic was the influence of natural and artificial light on the concentration in the home office. So first I thought, okay, lighting that actually fits the interior design. Then I realized it was not about choosing a nice lamp. I had to read about artificial light, daylight, visual comfort, glare, the sleep and wake rhythm, and how all of this affects the concentration. And every claim needed a source, and everything had to be cited correctly in APA. I have never checked so many brackets, years, and references in my whole life. So I was spending more time reading than actually designing. And while I was doing that, I was honestly thinking all the time, what does this have to do with interior design? But afterwards I understood the connection more, because lighting is not just about how the room looks, it also affects how comfortable and how focused someone feels inside of that room. So at one point I found a source that looked like I would have to pay for it. So then I had to find a legal full text and check if it really supported what I wanted to say. So I also learned that brighter or cooler light does not automatically makes everyone more productive. It depends on the time, the situation, visual comfort and the person. And exactly that made lighting feel much less simple than it did before. I'm not going to pretend that I enjoyed writing every part of this paper, because APA references were definitely not the reason why I chose interior design. Because there were nights where I was sitting and reading the same paragraph 5 times just to check one citation. But it was also one of the assignments that changed the most how I look at interiors now. It's surprising how pointless something can feel while you're doing it and actually useful after you finished it. The paper wasn't the only assignment where I thought, wait, this is part of interior design. I also had strategic design, where I researched why smaller creators can make good videos and still be difficult to discover on YouTube. I did interviews, I worked with 2 double diamonds and developed a 3-phase creator growth program. Then there's Fairfeed, which was in my ethic class. It's a separate project where I designed more ethical alternative to a normal recommendation feed, like to a video stream platform. I had to think about what the interface shows people and how it could give them more control instead of just keeping them scrolling. And in creative tools, I had a lot of different assignments throughout the whole semester. That project was especially useful because I worked with a lot of different softwares. So I mainly use Photoshop and Canva to create posters and Illustrator to design a logo. So instead of just using one program for everything, I started to understand which tool works better for which kind of task. So all 3 projects were like very different from the whole Voluta project I had. But they showed me that design isn't only about rooms, it can also be about information, digital system and the choices people have. One change I really didn't expect is that you stop looking at spaces normally. I go into a cafe and I see the lighting, I see the materials and where the people are sitting and why this one corner feels nice, why the other one feels kind of awkward. I just want to sit down, but my brain is analyzing the ceiling. But it's honestly one of the coolest parts of studying this as well, because before I was able to tell if I like a space or not, and now I'm slowly understanding why I'm liking a space and why not. Voluta made me think much more about movement, scale and what it feels like to walk through a space. And the scientific paper made me take lighting much more seriously. And the digital projects made me realize that an interface can guide you a little bit like rooms actually do. The deadlines were probably the biggest reality check for me, because you think you're doing well, you nearly finished your main idea or the actual design, but then you remember that submissions are not just the design. For Voluta, I still needed the plans, the renders, the presentation papers and all the correct exports. For strategic design, it was the interviews, the wireframes, the double diamond and the final presentation. For Fairfeed, I needed a concept, a prototype and a portfolio. Scientific papers still needed the citations and the correct APA formatting. And for the creative tools, I had to document every single step in the portfolio. And then there are always small things you have to do, like correcting the text, checking the resolution, and putting everything in the file and then uploading everything in the end. And every time I finished one thing, I found like 3 more things I had to do. So it never really felt finished. And then at one point the deadline just arrived and I just had to submit whatever I had. The final results always look so organized, but my folders definitely did not. Like there was always 5 versions open of something, or something was still rendering. It was just completely chaos. I did get much better at organizing big projects, but I would not say that constant stress is normal or good for studying. So sometimes I was productive, sometimes I was honestly just tired. But would I choose studying interior design again? Right now, yes. But not because I loved every assignment or I enjoyed naming the files final, final 7 and so on. I would choose it again because now I'm able to do things and projects I was not able to do before studying this. And I can also notice that the way I'm thinking is changing, but I wouldn't recommend it to someone who just wants to design rooms. You have to be okay with softwares, research, writing, showing unfinished ideas, and starting over and over again when something doesn't work out. And you really have to be okay with teaching yourself a lot. That's probably my most honest answer after the semester. And if you study interior design, tell me one good and one bad thing no one warned you about. And if you want to study it, you can leave your questions in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I see you in the next one.